Giving all praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. Shalom to the elect. That's the tabernacle of David that's scattered abroad. Much respect to the brothers who's doing this work in sincerity and all righteousness and truth, making their bodies a living sacrifice for the second coming of our Lord and Savior, YAHAWASHI HaMashiach. Double honors to the elders, the bishops, and the apostles of the great millstone, the one who taught me this truth according to the Bible. Just want to get into a very quick lesson here, Lord's willing. It'll be edifying and to the point. Everything we do is for Yahawah Bashim Yahushai to exalt his name, because he is the King of Kings, Lords of Lords. See, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. Let's open up with the book of Tobit, chapter 13, verse 3, and it reads, "Confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Yasharallah, for he have scattered us among them." So the 12 tribes of Israel have been scattered across all nations, so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native American. Again, I have to qualify this. We're into all nations, looking like all nations. Some of the Israelites would look like the so-called typical Japanese or the so-called Indian person, but we're into all nations, looking like all nations, because that is where the Lord Yahawah Bashim Yahushai have scattered us to the four corners of the earth. So I'll read it again. Tobit 13, verse 3. It says, "Confess him." Confess who? Yahawah Bashim Yahushai, before the Gentiles, before everybody. Ye children of Yasharallah. Remember, Jacob had 12 sons. Jacob's name was later changed to Israel. So that's the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, for he have scattered us among them. There declare his greatness and extol him before all the living, for he is our power, and he is the power of our Father forever. He will scourge us for our iniquities, and he has, because the 12 tribes of Israel are very rebellious. See, for he will scourge us for our iniquities, and he will have mercy again. See, for he will have mercy upon Jacob and yet choose Israel, right? It says, for he will have mercy again and will gather us out of all nations among whom he have scattered us. So that's why I said we're going to look like the typical other nations, because we're into all nations, okay? So let's get into this lesson here. So this is an article I was reading yesterday. I was going to bring it out, but I gathered a little bit more information before I was able to do this lesson. So nothing happens before its time, and nothing happens before Yahawah Bashim Yahushai had sanctioned this. So let's continue here. This is from the RT News. It says U.S. House Speaker. This is the Speaker of the White House. U.S. House Speaker announced new axis of evil. Mike Johnson. This is the House Speaker right here. Mike Johnson reverted to Republican orthodoxy as he vowed to get weapons to Ukraine as a matter of critical importance. If you've been following, you will see that the American taxpayer has, and I gotta say the American taxpayer because that's where the money's coming from, have dished out billions on top of billions on top of billions of dollars already to fight this futile war, this war that they cannot win. In the beginning, the whole propaganda, the whole world was saying Ukraine is kicking Russia's butt and everything, but then come to realize that's not even the truth. If you're winning a war, you're not screaming for help. You're not screaming for more aid. Every 3 weeks, it looks like Zelensky is asking for more money. But Lord's willing, this lesson will be edifying and will answer a few questions as to why. Let's continue. So it says, in a dramatic break from his party's hardline conservative base, because he's part of the Republican Party, and the vast majority of the Republicans were against sending extra funds to Ukraine, because I believe they had a budget of $98 billion and it was broken down to some to fight the war of Hamas, Israel-Hamas war, and other little conflicts, but the bulk of the money went to Ukraine. So it says, in a dramatic break from his party's hardline conservative base, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson this week praised the country's deep state, named Russia, China, and Iran. And those are all part of the the BRICS nations, right? So it says, let's read it again. It says, this week praised the country's deep state named Russia, China, and Iran as axis of evil, and vowed to put his job on the line to funnel more than 60 billion to Kiev. So he says, this is his words, he says Russia, China, and Iran are the axis of evil, and vowed to put his job on the line to funnel. So he's that sure of it. Okay, there's a reason. Let's see some for 1 second here. Let's see. I know what it means, but I want to go into one thing here. 1 second. Axis. Oh, sorry. Axis. 1 second. Axis meaning. It says an imaginary line about which a body rotates the earth revolve on its axis once every 24. Says a fixed reference line in the measurement of coordinates. So he's drawing that line in the sand. Okay, that's where the line is drawn in the sand. That's the axis of evil. He says, I'm vowed to put his job on the line. So he's vowing to put his job in the line because that's how much that's how much he believes in this, to funnel more than 60 billion to Kiev. Oh, there you go. I said 98, but there's 95. It says, for months, Johnson has resisted bringing a 95 billion foreign aid bill to a vote, arguing that neither he or his fellow Republicans could support such a bill. See, that's what, okay, I just brought this out, which would give 14 billion in military aid to Israel. I didn't even realize this was there, to be honest with you, and 60 billion to Ukraine. So see, Ukraine get the bulk of it. They get 60 billion. Without it being tied to an overhaul of U.S. border security. So you think about it, to the average American is working hard, some of them working 2 jobs and paying a bulk of taxes, and a lot of the money is funneling to these proxy wars and other wars in other countries. There's a reason for it. It says, without it being tied to an overhaul of U.S. border security. So you are in all these nations meddling in other nations' affairs, but your economy, your security, internal homeland security is very vulnerable. And recently the FBI director had talked about that as well, because they're expecting a big T attack at some point. They're all talking about cyber attacks and all these different attacks, but that is going into the prophecy of Isaiah 19 verse 19, because the people are going to be fed up, and then you're going to have red states versus blue states, so on and so forth. I recently watched that movie Civil War. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but if you get a chance, watch that movie, because that is forecasting some of the things. Because remember, the left hand side uses what? Predictive programming, and that's telling you some of the things that are about to set on the land of America very soon. It says, however, after a series of recent meetings with U.S. intelligence chiefs, Johnson has changed his tune. So now he's on the tune of what? The Republicans. But now there's still a split, okay? It says, this is a critical time right now, a critical time on the world stage. Johnson told reporters on Wednesday, I think providing lethal aid to Ukraine right now is critically important. I really do. I really do believe the intel and the briefings that we have gotten. So now he's part of the Republican Party. And as you know, there's the Republican, there's the Democrats. You see, that's the 2-party system. And they're divided because a lot of them believe that the money should be spent elsewhere or doing other things, not fighting external wars and proxy wars while the citizens are suffering. So this is why, so now they're divided. And you know what the scripture says, right? A house divided. Let's go to the scripture here. It says in the book of Mark 3 verse 25, it says, if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. See? And this is what you're seeing right now. A house divided against itself, and that house cannot stand. And just like it says, and if Satan rise up against himself and he be divided, he cannot stand. He hath an end. And that is what you're seeing right now, okay? Because they're so caught up in whether they send more funding to all these proxy wars and the other ones that are brewing. Even in the Chinese-Taiwan conflict, it's the same thing. More money will have to be funded for to help out Taiwan as well, and all the other little storms that are brewing. It says, I believe Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin and Iran really are an axis of evil. So that's that line drawn in the sand. He continued, I think they're in coordination on this, which is correct. I think because they're trying to bring down the West, to take down the West, right? So they form the allies and take down the West, because America has been that hammer of the earth for such a long time, and a lot of the nations are upset. And this is all prophecy. Revelation 17th chapter, they shall hate the whore. You see? And it says, and I think they are in coordination on this. I think Vladimir Putin will continue to march through Europe if he were allowed, okay? Johnson's comments represented a break with the Republican Party pro-Trump ring. These supporters of the former president, most prominent among the Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and Florida Republican Matt Gaetz, view the country's intelligence agencies as arms of the anti-Trump deep state and have called for the flow of money to Kiev to be halted. So now you have people in your own party, Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're both like, what is this? This is foolishness. That's what they're saying. And now all of a sudden, the House Speaker had a change of heart. They're not impressed. Look at her face says it all. Her face says it all, right? It says, fighting a proxy war with Russia and Ukraine, which is a non-NATO member nation, is not protecting America's national security interests. 155%. It does not protect the United States of America. As a matter of fact, it pushes us closer and closer to World War III, which is true. Green told journalist Tucker Carlson earlier this month. She says fighting a proxy war with Russia and Ukraine. See, Johnson's reference to an axis of evil, however, invokes the more interventionist GOP in the past, coined by speechwriter David Frum. The phrase that was first used by George W. Bush to refer to Iran, Iraq, and North America end of the month. So you remember how George Bush Sr. was saying, Jr. He says we found weapons of mass destruction, because it's all BS. It's all vomit that they put out to the public. It says, in Korea, in months leading up to the invasion of Iraq, former National Security Advisor John Bolton later added Cuba, Libya, and Syria on the list. So all these countries America had helped destabilize and destroyed, whether it's taking out their leadership and destabilizing the countries, because that's how they propped up their economy. It says, despite resistance from some of its Republican members, the House Rules Committee agreed on Thursday to split the foreign bill into three separate bills, one each for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. See, Taiwan is added to the mix now. The House voted in favor of this move on Friday, leaving Johnson free to schedule a vote on each bill for Saturday, even as Green filed a motion to remove him from the speakership. So they just recently removed Kevin McCarthy. Now Mike is he's on the hit list. Mike Johnson's on the hit list. It says, Johnson said on Wednesday that he anticipated such a move, telling reporters that he is willing to take personal risks to pass the bill. See, the reason why all these guys are set up, because they have ulterior motives, right? We're getting there. Let's go into the history of Mike Johnson for a minute here. So I did a little Wikipedia search on him, and it says, this is him right here, Mike Johnson. He was a Louisiana politician. James Michael Johnson, redirect here. Okay, let's get right to the point. James Michael Johnson, born January 30th, 1972, is an American lawyer and politician serving for the 56th Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. Since October 25th, a member of the Republican Party, he is in his fourth House term, having represented Louisiana's 4th Congressional District since 2017. I'm almost there. Johnson is a graduate of the Paul M. Herbert Law Center at Louisiana State University, LSU, before entering politics. He worked as an attorney in a private practice for Alliance Defending Freedom. It's called the ADF. At ADF, he advocated for sodomy laws. So he advocated for sodomy laws and criminalizing homosexuality. Read that again. At ADF, he advocated for sodomy laws and criminalizing homosexuality, writing an amicus brief that he opposed to eventual U.S. Supreme Court ruling Lawrence versus Texas. A young earth creationist, Johnson sat on the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention between 2004 and 2012. That's all I'm going to read here. So when these guys promote certain abominable lifestyles, they get elevated. So you see, just like in Hollywood, all these celebrities that are geared towards the top tier celebrities, if you only knew the amount of wickedness that they have to do to get to that level, it is wickedness beyond wickedness, right? The Bible has stuff against this stuff, but this is what he calls himself a conservative Christian, a right wing. Right here it says he has been identified as a member of the Christian right. See, so these people, they use the Bible to promote wickedness and further a wicked agenda, because they raise the Bible up in their hands. Psalms 50 verse 16. Now let me bring that out really quickly, because that's a perfect segue for this precept here. Psalms 50. Bear with me for 1 second here. Psalms 50 verse 16. It says, "But unto the wicked God saith, What have thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou should have taketh my covenant in thy mouth?" See, these people there, they take the Bible to be sworn in. And once they get that job or whatever the position they're going for, they cast that Bible probably in the garbage or down in the basement somewhere. But that's it. That's all they use. Because it says, "Seeing that thou hatest instruction and casteth my words behind thee." See, this is what these people do. So he calls himself a conservative Christian, and these are the laws that he's advocating for. You see, so that's all part of the madness and the wickedness. So let's continue here, because we don't want to make this lesson too long. It doesn't need to be. This is an article from BBC News. Ukraine's army chief says Russia is making significant gains in the east of country. Okay, so I thought Ukraine was winning the war. Isn't that what they were telling us before? Ukraine is kicking butt. This is what they tell us, right? Let's go. It says the head of Ukraine's military has warned the battlefield situation in the east of the country has significantly worsened in recent days. Here we go. Fierce battles are ongoing in several villages in the eastern Donbass region. General Oleksandr Sarkskill and Russia said Russia was benefiting from warm weather, making terrain more accessible for its tanks and making tactical gains. So now Russia is kicking their butt. That's why they're begging for more money publicly. But I'll get to the point. It comes as Germany said and will give Ukraine an extra Patriot missile defense system to fend off air attacks. So all these NATO nations have to take money from their war budget to continue funneling in Ukraine. And we know most of these companies that make these weaponry are American companies. You know, like Lockheed Martin and all these other companies that make all this stuff, right? In his update posted on social media on Saturday, General explained the situation on the Eastern Front had deteriorated as Russia intensified its armored assaults. Fighting a losing battle here. Battles have raged out of control of Bohandika, I can't even pronounce that, Silaki, a village west of devastated city of Bakhmut, he said. The settlement lies a few kilometers northeast of the town of Shavis Yar, a Kiev-controlled stronghold, which Russia have been trying to reach after seizing the town of Avdiivka in February to the south. Yes. Ukrainian officials say a slowdown in military assistance from the West, especially the U.S., have left it more exposed as aerial attacks and heavy outgunned on the battlefield. Despite repeated assurance that he is dedicated to Ukraine's defense, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has failed to advance a new military aid bill. The Democratic-controlled Senate passed fresh funding in February, which includes $60 billion in aid for Ukraine. Imagine getting all this money and still getting your tail handed to you. But conservative Republicans in the House objected to the bill. The House divided and did not include funds for its border security. So I'm going to play you a little thing here. I can't play on thing, but more I'll play the audio. Just listen to this for a second.
It's a war the Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine. The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market. In March of 2022, we committed $113 billion. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We then committed another $24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden's asking for another $60 billion. But the big expenses are going to come after the war, when we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry, it's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who do you think owns every one of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. And then in December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract? BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us. They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other. They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, black against white, and all these divisions that they sow.
See, that is very powerful there in terms of what he said. He dropped a lot of gems, but that's exactly a good portion of the reason why all this money is keep funneling, because the same, yes, we're going to help you, but we also going to build these weapons for you for our own thing. So he said it's a good form of way of laundering the money. And that's exactly, it's all corruption, because these companies, they own everything essentially. Like you talk about the major hitters, they own everything, but they supply on both sides of the war. So it's a win-win-win for them. Because one of the I think one of the Rothschilds, I can't remember which one had said it. He said that they love when blood is spilled in the streets, because that's when they make their money. So it's all part of the deception. But you see, he's Mike Johnson is selling it to his other constituents and to the House and everything by saying that Russia, China, and Iran are the actors of evil, and they're the ones, and that's why we need to fund more money into Ukraine, blah, 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 the usual rhetoric. But they think that America is on the decline of going down because, you see, and let's go to, they're on the decline, and they know that, so they're fighting tooth and nail because this is all prophetic, right? Let's go to the book of, because this is what we're going into. Isaiah the 14th chapter, verse 4. It says that thou shalt take up a parable against the king of Babylon, talk about America, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? Because with all these companies, even what I'm just describing here, all these companies are American companies because they still have, that's just how they manufacture these things in America. They're funding this war, but they're making money. So it says, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how have the oppressor ceased? How have the golden city ceased? Because the Lord he says, the Lord have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So all this rulership here is going to come to an end for them. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, which is America, he have ruled the nations in anger and persecuted, and none hindereth. You see? Because when they go down, the whole world will be at rest, right? It says, verse 7, Isaiah 14, verse 7, the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. See? The whole world will be at rest when they go down. So this is why they're fighting tooth and nail so that they don't go down, because they believe that they can maintain this, but also Russia, China, and Iran, and the BRICS nation think that they will be the next multipolar governments to rule this planet. Let's go to the book of Daniel. 2 verse 44, and to the point. It says, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. Remember, the Lord sets up all these kingdoms and rulerships for a specific period of time, right? And America is Rome 2.0, and that's the last leg of the Roman Empire. It says, we're at the feet of this thing. It says, and in the days of all these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. And that's the point. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms. Remember, he is the King of kings, Lord of lords. The Lord he sets up all these kingdoms for a time to rule, and their time is almost up. And it shall stand forever. And this is what has happened to America right now, that the hammer of the whole earth is being cut asunder. And this is what the Lord is doing to all these nations. He's stirring up them to fight. But this is how another clear indication prophetically that we're at the end of this thing. Jeremiah 50 verse 23, it says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? Talking about America, because America has over 850 military bases across the world in countries that don't even want these bases. There was just recently, there's a conflict going on between Venezuela and Guyana right now over land. But the reason why they're fighting, because this land is territorial. I think it's the rights to Guyana, but now Venezuela, they discovered that there's a lot of raw materials, oil and gold and everything in that region. So now these two nations are at war, at tension for that landmass, because it's money. America recently says, hey, Guyana, let us help you. You want to help? Yeah, sure. Why not? But we need to set up a base. Oh, no, we can't do that. And Guyana rejected America having a base in Guyana for that said reason, because the moment they put that base there, it is done. It says, so Jeremiah 50 verse 23, it says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? And this is what is happening right now. The Lord is stirring up all these things, because he is showing his true power. You see, because America is that country that smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. They go into your countries and push stuff on you, whether it's democracy in their version, these alphabet lifestyles, or any kind of wicked lifestyles. And the moment you decline it, they put sanctions on you. They destabilize the government. They remove the government. They do all these things. So that's why it says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger and persecuted, and none hindereth. Because before, none of these countries would even step to America or even challenge America. But you're seeing the whole everything is being reversed on them, because this is how we know at the time of this end. But anyhow, I hope you've been edified. Until the next time, I say Shalom. The water Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH.